Hey everybody, and thanks again for tuning in to another episode of ARMA Mods Weekly. This week, it will be a little bit different. If you watch some of the other videos, you know that by now I am visiting back in Holland for about 2 weeks, and normally I want to do this series on each Monday, but scheduling made it to where I could produce an episode only just now. I will return next week on Wednesday, so please also expect an episode around that time next week, before then returning to the regular schedule of each Monday. As back home, I do not have as beefy equipment to play ARMA 3 on high or even medium settings. I also wanted to do it a little bit different now, since I cannot give you guys reviews or information regarding newly released mods and content ideally. Therefore, during this episode, I will talk about some of the older mods or missions that I have experience with. In the pilot video, or the pilot episode, I received a lot of positive feedback and even some people who asked me not to only talk about newly released mods, but also older ones that have been updated. So in that sense, hopefully it all works out. Once again, if you want to try out any of the mods or missions that you see in today's episode, you can find the link in the description down below for all of the mods. The footage that you will see from the missions comes from our very own Looping Reel Gaming channel, where we have a lot more co-op ARMA episodes available. You can also find a link to that channel in the description down below, and please support us by subscribing if you like what you see. For the first item we discussed today, we take a look at, in my opinion, one of the most unique missions that have been released recently. It is the Halo Warthog Trench Run. With how easy it is to use the editor, it dawned on me how it was possible that there were not more of these obstacle course type missions for ARMA 3. Obstacle courses are plentiful in games like Minecraft, GTA 5, and now even Fortnite. The mission premise is very simple. A nuke is going to go off in 25 minutes, and you have to make it to the end of the course before those 25 minutes are up. The cool thing is that this is multiplayer compatible for up to 6 people. Absolute chaos ensues as all of you drive down the route as fast as you can. With that, you can even make it seem like a real race to see who can escape first. What is excellent about this mission is the build-up of the route itself. The route will first take you through regular Altis, where you cross down the roads you've already known in your Warthog. But slowly, objects and obstacles provided with the Operation Trebuchet mod make it a bit more interesting with jumps, zigzags, and barricades one needs to avoid. It even gets so crazy that you need to avoid holes in the floor or drive along small, floating roads without anything preventing you to fall over the edge. It gets nail-bitingly tense, and it's all accompanied by very awesome, original, and remixed versions of the Halo soundtrack. Playing this mission made me scream for more, and I was sad to find out that there are barely any missions like this. If one does know the existence of something similar, do feel free to let me know in the comments down below. For the next item that we will discuss, we will talk about a mission created by the mission creator, Phantom. He is well known amongst the ARMA community for making missions that are really great, and what I personally love about his creations are some of the unique themes he sometimes chooses, like the setting for John Carpenter's The Thing. For this particular mission though, he chose the Alien setting, as he made good use of the Max Aliens mod that was released last year as well. Phantom's missions are long. One always has to take this into account. One will be expected to spend between 1 and 2 hours on a mission that can be played with up to 4 people. But the larger scale does give room for good storytelling and a build-up that will eventually lead up to a climax. The Enemy Contact mission is another good example of that. All of the missions, including this Aliens Escalation mission, make use of new and custom textures, while briefing logs, audio files, and environmental storytelling tell you what's going on. What makes this mission great for me personally is the story progression. You start out with your team and look for clues on what has happened. Your first sight of the aliens are hatched eggs, and you expect soon to come into contact with the enemy. For your first encounter, you will get help from the auto turrets from the movie, and not too long after, you and your crew will move to another location in the APC used in the movie as well. From here on out, the encounters will escalate and escalate, as you will face more distinct alien types, but also fight regular human mercenaries. Therefore, the action stays varied and does not get dull. Critique that I've read on the forums is that some of the people had a hard time finding things in order to progress the story or something to trigger. But in all honesty, The locations are well pointed out on the map via red circles, and one just has to keep their eyes peeled for things on tables or desks. We had no trouble finding things for the most part. We did run out of ammunition at the end though, but Phantom let us know soon after that he fixed that issue too, so it should be his most polished creation yet. Please feel free to also check out Phantom's back catalog, as he has some real gems hidden between all those missions. For our next mission, and today will pretty much only be missions since that is what I have access to, it is a mission that is again very unique. Maybe a bit repetitive to call the missions that by now, but those types are the types that I'm looking for. This mission does not sound very unique when one would first hear its name. The mission's name is Philadelphia, but it actually tackles a subject that is rarely seen in ARMA 3 and even ups it by having async co-op opportunities. The main team of 2 players will head towards a sunk battleship and are tasked with taking pictures. There are patrols on the shore and on the water, and possible other threats underneath, like mines. So it is fun, yet stressful, to play as these guys. It is cool to see finally some missions make use of the underwater mechanics. Back when ARMA 3 was first announced, the developers made a big deal about this feature, yet it never received much attention afterward, and gets barely used in missions nowadays. But swimming across the giant wreck and even exploring its inside is very cool and eerie, especially once you find hints that things don't seem as normal as they are. As mentioned before, this mission also caters async co-op, and what I mean by that is that another team of players is at the same time busy with something else entirely but on the same map. To have the patrols in the eyes of the enemy look away from the sunken ship, a reaction squad is tasked with blowing up some of the vehicles at a nearby airport. For these players, more classical gameplay and action can be expected. They will be attacked by infantry, land vehicles, and even enemy support from the air. The cool thing is that these players will never run into the ones that are doing the diving and exploring the wreck, yet are interconnected with them. The mission comes to a very cool and surprising climax that even takes hints from H.P. Lovecraft's material. Unfortunately, I have not seen a follow-up to this mission yet, even though I am craving for more and they hinted that the story would continue. For a cool Let's Play, seen by both perspectives in the same video, please head on over to the Looping Reel Gaming channel, which can be found in the description down below. For the final topic of today, we take a look at the follow-up mission of the Frankster that continues the story of the zombie outbreak we talked about during the first episode. Now, though of course I will talk about multiple creations by the same creator, it is not necessarily my intention to talk about missions or mods from the same creator on the following week, to give the opportunity for other creators to shine as well. But for the situation that I'm in right now and the content that I have available to film, I made an exception. So the story continues in this mission as main character Alan hitches a ride on the final evacuation truck heading outside the city. The army has taken over control, and once again, the Frankster has done an excellent job at making the world feel alive with plenty of objects placed everywhere. As you head on over to the evac point, you see choppers and smoke in the distance. Heavily defended checkpoints are everywhere, and you really feel that the situation is dire. The mission, like its predecessor, is not very long, but as many people demanded more action, that is exactly what they got. The mission eventually will force the player into contact with the zombies. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were the slow-moving type. Unfortunately though, I did run into some issues that I supposedly had been dealt with by now, as I was waiting for a certain action to be triggered, which took longer than it should have. Another thing I want to mention is that though many people ask for more action, I cannot help but think why. In all honesty, it's pretty cool to fire at zombies for the first time, but it gets old really fast. I personally love the feeling of a zombie apocalypse, or the outbreak of how it was portrayed here. But zombies don't shoot back and just stumble towards you. Though it can definitely lead up to some tense situations if you are cornered or out of ammo, overall, the action is not too thrilling. Therefore, I would like to press the issue on any future mission makers out there that the utmost important thing regarding a scenario like this is the environmental storytelling. That is, in my opinion, comes first. But I do realize that it might be an opinion that belongs to the minority. And with that, we've come to the end of another ARMA Mods Weekly. If you know any mods or missions that you think are worth me talking about, then please let me know in the comments down below. Next week, I will be back in Japan and we'll talk about new missions and mods, including some that have been released during the past week. Then after that episode, we will return to the normal schedule on Mondays. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and check out some of the other channels in the description down below. See you guys during the next ARMA Weekly.